if you can just hold on to that moment of momentum, if you could just hold on, it's just life-changing.
Hey guys, it's Lauren. Welcome back to the channel where we are making our dreams come true. And today I am joined by my amazing client, Shital Patel, and she's going to share with you her incredible success story of how she manifested being on a Netflix show and her current amazing relationship, among other things. So if you are trying right now in your life to manifest any big things like love, career, or life purpose, you're definitely going to want to watch this all the way to the end. She's going to give some great insights about how she actually did this through our coaching together. And on August 10th, you'll be able to catch Shital on Indian Matchmaking Season 2.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Lauren, on your channel. I'm so excited. And even to just kind of go through the work that we've done. I mean, it doesn't get any bigger than manifesting Netflix, in my opinion. So I sincerely want to thank you for helping me do that. I mean, I couldn't have done that without your coaching program. But, 2 years ago, we started working together. I was in a very dark place. The pandemic had hit. I was in New York City in my apartment, my small, tiny apartment by myself. And I realized that, I was not actively participating in my life. And I knew that I had these goals, and seemingly impossible goals, like being on a television show. And, honestly, I mean, we'll get into it a little more in the video, but you single-handedly changed my life. I mean, I can't. Yeah, you. I mean, I mean that with all my heart. So I just, I don't know. I don't think that I would have been in this position with these opportunities had I not worked with you. And I mean that.
That's so sweet. And honestly, there's no better feeling for me as a coach to see all the things that you've created. You've really created amazing things. And that is like my personal life mission, is to help create massive impact through helping people achieve their big dreams, their big goals, and, breaking the barriers to what people think is possible in this life.
My purpose in life was to be in entertainment, bring joy to people and empower women. That was the main thing that I wanted to do. And the other piece was I did want to be in a relationship and I wanted to find love. And as fate would have it, as we were coaching, I got this opportunity to be on a dating show for Netflix. And so it was like two of my dreams manifested at the same time, with the work that we did. And we broke down self-concept, you helped me with my confidence. We took out all of the old programming that I had, the limiting beliefs, that were holding me back for years from manifesting these things, and just sort of unwinding that and then reprogramming with more of a positive mindset through your coaching. That is what genuinely helped me achieve, my goals.
That's amazing, because I know so many people who are watching this, or so many people who are trying to make change in their life. That's where they get stuck, right? Is that they haven't seen any glimpses that it's even possible for them to have the things that they want in their life. They're like, it's been years of no relationships, or years of failed relationships, or everyone telling them that it's not possible to live their dreams, not possible to be an actress, a musician, an artist, an entrepreneur, or whatever it is. So that's, you're basically a testament to that. And that's why I wanted to have you here. And I'm sure that everyone is going to gain so much from seeing what you have to say.
Yes. For sure. I'm so excited, and I'm excited to share, all of the work that we've done together.
I know a lot of the people who watch the channel are kind of in a similar state. They have big dreams. They have really big goals. There's a lot of things that they want to accomplish, but they think that those goals are impossible. Or they're finding themselves in a situation where it seems like you said, like a dark state or a down state. And they don't really know, how to break that cycle, right? And they have usually a lot of limiting beliefs around, their desires as well. What were some of the big limiting beliefs you think that you held that were blocking you from getting, this Netflix show and getting love and all of those things?
I'll actually even just take a step back and talk about the limiting beliefs to even actually get the help. So I come from an Indian background, and there is still a stigma of getting help and getting coaching. And so even that was holding me back for, a while for me to even reach out to someone, because I always felt like, I can do it on my own, or it'll be okay. But sometimes you genuinely do need that third party to help you in whatever way, So that was a huge limiting belief that I actually overcame and, reached out to you. And then, kind of in that same vein with the coming from the conservative Indian background, when I started coaching with you, I was 36. So already at that point, you're in my culture, you're so old, you're like headed for spinster status, so it's like you're old, your eggs are geriatric, like, it's like you've missed the boat. You're never going to meet anyone. That's great. Basically, you're just going to meet whatever, like the leftover guys. You're not going to have the options that you want. You're not going to get the love that you want. I mean, these are the things that I was hearing constantly from the people around me. And so that was stuck in my head. And to summarize that, the limiting belief was that I'm too old and I missed the boat, to actually meet somebody. And so that was a huge thing. And then on the television side, it wasn't really more so the age. It was more so just, are there even opportunities? I was starting to see diversity, and obviously it's come a long way since the pandemic too. But at that time I was like, okay, I don't really see a lot of people that look like me on television at that time. So I was like, and there's so much competition, and it's like a 1 in a million chance. So the competition part was a huge limiting belief for me in that aspect.
Yes, I remember we did a lot of work on the idea of competition and, the idea that these things that you want are limited, right? That there's scarcity on the amount of relationships that are like the perfect man or whatever. All of these things are so limited. The perfect role for you is limited, right? And a lot of people have to overcome those challenges to be able to manifest the things that they want into their life. And you're proof that is actually possible, but how did you manage to take that leap of faith to believe when really you weren't seeing anything in the 3D that could show you that, it's possible for you to be on TV, even though it didn't happen before, or, you didn't have that kind of relationship before. So how did you keep faith in that?
You and I did a lot of work on that. That was very hard for me initially. It was like, okay, you have to have faith, because there was no proof in the 3D at that time, right? I was still attracting these matches that were not in alignment with me, or I felt like they weren't in alignment with me. I was maybe getting an audition or a call back, I don't know, once every few months. So, I had no proof in the 3D, but with the work that we did, it was really just about persisting and living in the end. You train your brain, right? It's a muscle. So you train your mind. And so I got to a point where I was able to persist for 2 weeks straight. And then I started to see like small signs. Maybe it wasn't like the exact opportunity or the guy that I was looking for, but I was getting close. And it was one of the analogies that you use that I really love is, if you're trying to get to $1,000 bill, you're going to get $100 bills until you get that, $1,000 bill point. So you're not going to not take the $100 bill. So I would take those $100 bills, whether it's like, whatever it was, an audition, or even putting myself out there and going on a date with someone. I was like, this is still getting me more and more into alignment with what I want. So I did that for 2 weeks, and then things just started to move after that point.
Right. So one of the biggest points, that I try to hone in on is that you need to have conviction about the thing that you're creating. And sometimes it's actually really hard to just have conviction, just believe that it is possible, and to sustain that belief for a certain period of time. It doesn't actually take that long, but to get to that point of being able to sustain your belief sometimes does take time, right? Yeah. To understand how you work emotionally and to understand how your mind works can take time. So, what that is that you just spoke about is building momentum, right? We built a lot of momentum for you in your actions, in things that you did to help keep your conviction. And once you started to see positive feedback, it's that much easier and that much easier. And then things just start happening, right? Things just start falling into place.
And it's interesting how things start to roll, because I think the first few months, I don't even really think we focused on really manifesting our law of attraction. We focused on mental diet and deprogramming, those old beliefs that I had, right? Like the preconceived notions and the judgments and all of these limiting beliefs. So we focused on kind of unraveling that and then replacing those thoughts with facts that are actually like, okay, there are infinite possibilities, you're not limited. So we spent a lot of time doing that work. And I think that's what set me up for success.
Absolutely. I think, deprogramming is the step that most people miss. they just want to jump into programming and they just want to jump into affirmations and all these kinds of things, but they don't take the time to really first have the awareness of what do they really believe? What are they actually believing at a core fundamental level? If you don't take the time to like work on that basis, afterwards is going to be a lot harder to install new programs. It's like, you still have like all of these old programs open and you're trying to put new programs on top of that. It's very hard to get results that way. So that's awesome that you brought that up. That's really important. And mental diet, how was that for you? Mental diet in the beginning, did you find that easy? Did you find that challenging?
I found that extremely challenging, especially because, we live in a world of social media. So you have so much content that's being thrown at you constantly, right? Your phone's always like, I have a conversation about dating with a friend and then my Instagram's like filling up my feed with dating information, So it's, there was so much like, there were so many things coming at me from social media, and then even friends that sort of have fallen off actually over the last couple of years because we're just not in alignment anymore. But that was also hard because I was hanging out with a lot of single women who also had limiting beliefs because everyone's pushed out, and that's where I was 2 years ago. So that's who that was my circle at the time. So it was extremely difficult. I had to really, really clean up that diet and force myself not to let, what those people are saying get to me. And then also just get off the, these pages, like these dating group pages and all the things that I was listening to that wasn't helping me.
I remember that very well. And that I think is part of the hardest part is that it's so easy to hear somebody else say like, you can't have that, you can't be on Netflix, you can't have that relationship, or there's a good man, or you're too old, or whatever are those limiting beliefs that I know a lot of people out there have. And being able to like not internalize that in your own mind can be very hard if that's like, a sore spot for somebody. It's very hard to like keep that out, but that is part of the importance, because what you're believing at a core fundamental level is absolutely creating your life around you. And, you're living proof of that.
For sure. No, for sure. And, the interesting thing is that when you start to do this work and you figure out, what you actually want, and you're starting to live in this feeling state of knowing that, you actually can have anything you want. Sometimes you don't even realize like, things are just naturally happening, So even with this Netflix opportunity, I didn't know initially that it was for Netflix or anything like that. My intention for joining the show was genuine. I wanted to genuinely find love, and I wanted to meet, my soulmate. And so that was the intention. And they were like, well, we're gonna document your journey, and it's gonna happen to be on a large streaming service. So it's just funny how the universe will give you what you ask for when you're ready.
That's very true. That is very true. I think that's the thing is like people want to make things happen very fast, but it's not about time. It's really about being the person who would have that thing. Right. So if you are being that person and you're holding specific beliefs within you, and you're holding a certain mindset within you, a certain vibration within you. So that is what's going to create basically your world. It's not how fast you want something to go. It's not how forceful you are. It's more about like we said before, what are you deprogramming in yourself, and what are the new beliefs that you're installing within yourself, and how diligent are you, and how persistent are you in being that?
Exactly. And I think, you bring up a great point, because we did work on that as well. And it was that, okay, if I, at this moment, or at the moment that I was in, if I was already married and I already had the life that I wanted, and I already had, a successful career on television, how would I behave? Would I behave the way that I was behaving at that time? I wouldn't, I wouldn't care like as much, or if like, I wouldn't care if I knew that that's the life that I was going to have. If I went on a bad date, I wouldn't let it affect me. I wouldn't be so disappointed.
That's having that infinite mindset, and that's something I talk a lot about in my coaching as well. Is like, having the mindset that I'm going for my goal, but if it's not happening right now, I can still find value in what's happening now. I can constantly be shifting my perspective to what's happening now to see positive change, right? See things that are actually making positive movement. Like you said, with the $100 bills, that is so important, because that builds up the momentum that is necessary to start having these things come into your life.
Yes, for sure. And that's what it was. And once once that momentum happens, if you can just hold on to that moment of momentum, if you could just hold on, it's just life-changing. I mean, I don't even know how to put that into words. I couldn't even try, but it was like, I told myself every day, even because not every day was great, right? I mean, we've done so much work together, and it was like some weeks I would be like super manifester and things would happen and it would be great. And other weeks I'd just be like, I wouldn't see any movement and I'd be like, oh my God, this sucks. And I would be in this like hole for a little bit. But I kept telling myself, the one thing I kept telling myself was, Shital, hold on. Just hold on to the process, hold on, keep doing the work, and you'll get there. And then that momentum, that shift happened, and everything just snowballed.
Exactly. And that is why so many people give up. They give up before they hit that stride. And I know I've been through that process many times for many different things that I was manifesting as well. And it's hard to sometimes keep yourself positive through that difficult phase. But if you can, and that momentum hits, that's amazing. And then to keep momentum is always so much easier than to create momentum. And so once you're on that stride and just things start rolling in, right? And I think it's important what you said, Shital, as well, because, a lot of people are watching and they sometimes can get, discouraged because like it's not happening as fast as they wanted to, or that they have down weeks and they think that they're messing up. But what's your experience on that with the down weeks?
Yeah. So the down weeks were challenging, right? But you told me something that was really important. You were like, you don't actually need to do anything and you can't mess this up. So it was like, okay, so I had that in the back of my mind. So I allowed myself to, have the down points. I mean, I think as humans, our emotions we're never going to be in like a feeling state of happiness and positivity all the time, so you are going to have those dips. But when I had those dips, again, I kept telling myself that, look, I would go back to the process. I think you gave me a really great toolkit. We had multiple different things that we used, in addition to just coaching. There was journaling, there was scripting, there was visualization. So all of those tools that I had in my toolkit, I used those when I had the down moments.
Exactly. So, the point of techniques, where I think people, they don't really realize this, techniques is not to get your manifestation. It's to manage your state, and it's to manage your perspective. Your perspective is creating everything, right? Your viewpoint and who you're being, that is your perspective, right? So your perspective is your power. And if you can't manage your perspective through these different tools and techniques that I teach, it's to help you do that. You're going to have a hard time manifesting, because how are you going to get through those difficult periods? And I think that's not something a lot of people talk about in a practical way, but I think it's super important. And then the second thing is faith, actually. We talked a lot about faith, and I know that that definitely helped you a lot. And can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So I was a very logical, practical person before we started working together. And it was hard for me to keep the faith in things, because faith comes from the subconscious. It comes from a place of, not always seeing proof, or not always seeing, what could be. It's just this feeling and knowing that whatever you want, you can actually have. And so again, it's I trained myself to know that if I hold on to that faith, just a little bit, you don't even need that much. If you just hold on to a little bit of faith, it will work out.
And it definitely did work out for you.
Yeah.
So you want to tell us a little bit about your experience with Netflix and your relationship? You want to tell us a little bit like what it was like and all that?
Yeah, sure. So even that, a lot of times when you do, and again, my intention for doing the show was truly to find love. And that was the driving force of doing that. And I knew I would get some opportunities after that, hopefully. But when I started the process, even with that, we were still working together at that time. And I was like, I had so many voices that were like, oh, producers are awful and reality TV is awful and they're going to edit you this way and that way. And I was like, no, I'm going to have an amazing experience. I'm going to use this to my benefit. I'm just going to have a great and fun time every time I get on set and get in front of the camera, and I'm just going to be myself and bring my whole self to the whole thing. And so I stayed in that mindset, and the experience actually turned out amazing, and it's not this particular experience, but just reality TV in general. You hear horror stories and you hear things of like people not having the best experience. But for me, I reframed and I changed my mindset, and I believed that I would have a positive experience, and I did.
That's amazing.
I mean, it was just, the producers were amazing. I got my story out. I was able to convey what I wanted in my own words. So I couldn't have asked for a better experience. And I do believe that is because I manifested that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, The show is Indian matchmaking.
Yeah.
It refers to your heritage. It refers to your passion for acting, for your passion for television, and also love. It was really like a perfect culmination of all the things that you were manifesting at the time. And it just came together in a perfect.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. How can we even explain that if not for faith, if not for the illogical? There's some other force at work. I don't know how else to explain that.
Yeah, absolutely. And what about with the relationship? How's that going?
The relationship is, when we started working together, and I don't know if I even knew what this meant when we started working together, but I told you, I was like, I want a spiritual connection, I want a soul connection, and I want to be with someone that shakes my soul. I didn't know what that really meant, but I knew I wanted a deep connection. But at the time that we were working together, I didn't have a deep connection with myself. I don't even think I knew who I was. And at that time, I was always looking for just very like surface level, superficial things. And I wasn't being consistent with myself. I wasn't making myself feel safe or at home or any of that. So I kept attracting that. But as we started to, go on our journey and do the work together, I consistently showed up for myself. I became more spiritual. I understood what the soul journey meant. And that is exactly who I attracted. I attracted somebody that's Indian. They're actually even from the same region as me in India. Not that, that was one of my requirements, but it just, we have this connection that just transcends, time, space, everything. It's just such I feel like I've known this person for many lifetimes. And I did not think a love like that was possible at this age or ever.
Wow. That says it all. And I think that is so important. That is to me, the culmination of the work that we do. It's really finding, how can we break patterns? How can we break cycles? And do you want to talk a little bit about how did you really break that cycle and how is it different from what you were attracting before?
Yeah, I mean, I was before we started working together, I was in a negative cycle. So I would always go for unavailable men, men that never made me feel safe. They wouldn't be consistent. My ex-boyfriend was in love with somebody else, and I knew that, and I still continued that relationship. And so I wasn't respecting myself, and I wasn't treating myself the way that I deserved to be treated. And so I would attract men that treated me like shit, basically. And I was allowing that behavior. And that was the other thing that you and I talked about. And it was, match energy. So I was up here and putting these people on a pedestal, another technique, another thing that we worked on. And so I would always put these guys on these pedestals. They would become these, idols almost, and so they were up here and I was down here because my self-concept was so shitty. So of course there is no balance there. Right. And so these guys their energy was not matching my energy because I was putting in so much and I was chasing and when you chase, what happens? The person runs, right. And they were unavailable and they weren't consistent and I was being ghosted and, all these terms that people throw around, but that's exactly what was going on. And then you really helped me to see that, do the inner work, focus on myself, bring it back to me. Mm-hmm. Do not put anyone on a pedestal. No one's above you. So I'm here, they're here. And I've maintained that even in this relationship. I mean, I don't think I've ever been in a relationship where I genuinely feel like I'm with my equal and we are both right here. I've always put the other person on this crazy pedestal. And I think because our energies match and we've both done the inner work, I think that's why it works.
That's so beautiful. That to me is the most important thing. I think that people sometimes get so discouraged. I know a lot of people that watch this channel, they get discouraged because maybe they've had a certain pattern for years.
Yeah.
And they found themselves in negative cycles, negative relationships, not able to create the job that they want, the lifestyle that they want for years. And they think it's kind of too late, but it's obviously never too late. You can always find someone who's your match, but you have to remember that people are reflecting you, right? Everyone is who you're being. You're getting a reflection of that. So you don't really need to do that much outward work, right? You weren't really doing anything on the outside. It was all internal.
And I'll be honest with you, Lauren, I wasn't actually actively, I wasn't on the dating apps. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I wasn't on the dating apps. I wasn't actually actively seeking someone. I was really focused on myself and making sure that I am the best version of myself, and what that means to me. And so while I was doing that, and at the height of that, that's when I met, my current partner. So that's the proof in itself. And I'm going to be 40 next year. So it's not like I found, my soulmate at 30. I met him later in life rather. So it's possible.
Yes. And, just exactly what you said about wanting that soul connection. I think a lot of people think that they have to kind of settle for something very mediocre or something that they don't really want or doesn't make them excited. And that was your main requirement. You're I just want something that feels very deep. I want someone who can make me feel safe and all of these things. And yeah, that's the self-concept work that we did. That's the self-love work that we did. And that's how it gets reflected out. A lot of people want things to happen overnight, and a lot of things can happen overnight. Your life can change overnight, but sometimes the work for it to change overnight takes a little bit of time to really understand the self. But that work, once you really understand the self in that way, it translates to everything in your life. It really translates everything.
It really does. And I would urge, just kind of as a little piece of advice in addition to coaching is, a lot of times when I talk to my friends or other women, we have a list, right? So I had a list when we started working together, and it was, I think I learned that from Abraham Hicks. It was make this list and then you can manifest this guy, right? And it's kind of ordering off a menu sort of thing. And then that's great. Lists are great to kind of give you a guideline of what you're looking for. But the most important thing that you taught me, and it's how does this person make you feel? And that is the focus. So when I shifted my focus to that versus all of these things on this list, that is when I manifested what my soul really desired.
So true, right? It's all in the feeling. And maybe you can attest to this. I'm not sure. Everybody has their own opinion, but it is of course about getting the things that we want and having the things that we want. But I feel that, it's so much more about the feeling state. So many of my clients tell me that after they get the money, they get the house, they get the relationship, they get the career, they get all the things that they want, they're like, this wouldn't be so satisfying if I didn't also feel amazing,
Yeah. And so I'm so happy that you bring that up, because that is also something else that I've been thinking a lot about. And it was, in the past, I would get manifestations short term, right? So I'd get a good relationship for maybe 6 months or whatever it was. But when I got that, I didn't feel satisfied for some weird reason. I didn't feel, or if I got if I wanted a certain amount of money and I got that, I just didn't feel satisfied because one, I hadn't done the inner work, and two, I wasn't in the feeling state of feeling great, And so that is the key. It's you can want these things, you can have all of these things, but you have to bring it back to yourself and you have to focus on that feeling state.
So true. Beautiful. So well said. So thank you so much for being with us, Shital. And we all look forward to seeing what you're going to do next. Again, be sure to check out Indian Matchmaking on Netflix on August 10th. So you can check out Shital on Instagram. I'm going to put her handle right there. And I actually have a new coaching program that's going to be coming out soon. And the information for that is down in the description below if you want to apply. Thanks so much for subscribing, guys. And I will see you guys in the next video.
Thank you.